Hi, this is Nitya Priya, and in this video we are going to study about loops in Java. So in the previous video we studied about the conditional statements of Java. Conditional statement is a block of statements will be executed if the condition is true. Okay, so that will be executed. The block will be executed only once, but in loops, the condition until the condition remains true, the statement block will be executed. It will be kept on executed until the condition remains true. Once if the condition becomes false, the block will not be executed. So that is the loop. So looping is executing the block of statements again and again depending upon a condition. Okay, but in conditional statements the block will be executed only once, even if the condition is true, right? If the condition is false, it will not be executed. That is the case in conditional statements. Okay, so now we are going to see that the different varieties of loops available in Java. The first one is while, the second one is do while, and the third one is for. So this is about loops. Loops can execute a block of code until the specified condition is reached. Okay, so loops are handy. Of course, they are handy. They save time. They reduce errors. No, if I execute something again and again, usually in programs I'll put the statements repeatedly. For example, if 2 times I want to execute a statement, 2 times I will type it. So that is the normal phenomenon. But loops reduces this. The loops reduce this. Okay, so a block will be declared. It will be stated only once, and the condition will be put outside. So if the condition will be checked when it is true, the loop will be executed again and again. Okay, so that's how it saves time and space, right? So the first loop, which is while. This is the syntax of while followed by the condition in parenthesis. So after that there is a block, open brace and closed brace. So within that the code to be executed will be specified. Okay, so until the condition remains true, the block of statements will be executed. Right, now this is the example. See, the public class we have here is WHL. While, for while we have stated WHL, right? So inside that we have stated the main function. So public static void main of string args. So within that we declare a variable as integer, which is I. I is an integer which has a value 0, initialize as 0. While I is less than or less than 5, we print I. Then for every execution of the block, I is incremented. So I is 0 first, the condition is true, it is less than 5, so I is printed 0. I is incremented, it is 1, so it is less than 5, so I is printed again, so 1 is printed. So until I is 4, it is printed. Once I is 4, it will be incremented again, it becomes 5, but when the condition is checked, it becomes false, because the condition says if I is less than 5, I can be printed. So now I is equal to 5. So the loop will not be executed. The condition will go the next statement of the loop in the program. Okay, so this is how while will be executed. I hope you understand. The next one is do while. See, in while the condition will be checked first. So I'll show you. See, in while the condition will be checked in the first statement itself, but in do while the condition is checked at last. So do block of statements, then while followed by condition. So the block of statements will be executed at least once without checking the condition. Even if the condition is false, the block will be executed once in do while. So there is a difference. In while the condition will be checked first. In do while the condition is checked at last. So while is called entry controlled loop. The entry of the condition within the loop is controlled in the entry point itself, the first statement itself. But in do while, the entry of the control within the loop is controlled only at the last, because the condition is stated at last. So that is called as exit controlled loop. Okay, so while is entry control loop and do while is exit control loop. So we see the example for do while. Okay, we have a public class called DOWHL. Then within that we have a main function So the same thing we do. I is initialized as 0, then I is printed, I is incremented. The condition is while I is less than 5. So even if I is 5 here, if I here I is 0, if I had the value 6, then also the loop would be executed once, because the condition is checked only at last. Okay, so that is the point in do while. But here I is 0, so I is printed, incremented, the condition is checked, it is printed, incremented, the condition is checked. So this will be done again and again. When I is equal to 5, it will the loop will not be executed, right? Now for a loop, three things are necessary. One is the initial condition, and the next one is the terminating condition, and the next one is the incrementation or decrementation of the loop variable. See, in while and do while we do everything. When I is equal to 0, that is that is the initial condition, and the terminating condition is I less than 5, and the incrementation or decrementation I plus plus or I minus minus. So these three things are important for any loop. In for loop, in while and do while, we do these three things in different statements. Okay, if you see that program, you will understand, right? So but in for loop, we do all these three things in a single statement. See, for statement 1 semicolon, statement 2 semicolon, statement 3. The statement 1 is, see the first point, the statement 1 is the initial condition, statement 2 is the terminating condition, and statement 3 is increment or decrement of the loop variable. Let us see one example. The same thing is done. You create a public class, inside that you create a main function. So inside that you give this for loop. So for I is equal to 0. See, this is the initial condition. I is starting by taking the value 0. It is starting with 0. Okay. So when it is ending, when I is less than 5. So when I is equal to 5, the loop terminates. Okay. So until I is less than 5, the loop will move on. That's the terminating condition. Then I plus plus, that's the incrementation statement. So we give all these three statements in a single line in for loops. So those three statements are separated by semicolon. Then that will be put inside the parenthesis. So we print I. So the same output we get, because I is 0, I is printed, it is incremented to 1, it is printed again. Until it is incremented to 4, it will be printed. When I becomes 5, the the condition becomes false and the loop terminates. Okay. So that is all about the looping in Java. I hope you understood the video. Thanks for watching.